when you're in
Right.
elementary, middle school, and high school. You just got to stay the course because there's so many different distractions. And I remember when I was a young gentleman, even 15 years old, my dad said, I put my little paw in his hand. I shook his hand and I told him that I wouldn't drink throughout high school. So I was one of those rare individuals who had to deal with a lot of peer pressure and things like
Yeah.
that. And what I didn't touch alcohol until I committed to play at the next level. And I think it was something that I would point to in terms of staying and avoiding distractions and focused on the diligent side of things. And I look back on those times. It was not easy, right? Because it's very hard to deal with the influences and being rejected but I just loved it. I loved sport, and I knew that if I could play sport at a high level but also stay diligent academically, perhaps get to a school that I probably couldn't get in just to on grades alone.
Yeah, no, and I think as you set that up, I think those are it's like you said, I look at that as you're very fortunate because finding that is key. And the fact that you found it so early, I think, like you said, that's just going to better you for success sooner. And I think that's a huge, something that I look back on and like if I had just learned how I learn to, apply myself, if I had done that sooner, that could have been something that definitely I think motivated me more and done something. So, as you were going through when did you kind of know that in your high school career that you were, maybe able to play at the next level? Like, was it maybe in like the fall time or other times when you were playing like travel or something like or club where you're getting looks, or when did you kind of, start getting looks? And then, what schools we know, well, spoiler, he went to Yale. What other schools were maybe kind of like tapping on your shoulder, or what were you looking for?
Yeah, I'll tell that whole experience just because maybe there's a young high school athlete that's paying attention to this. I was always pretty athletic. However, I was undersized. So I remember being 5'5", 155 as a freshman, 15-year-old. And one of my club coaches, by the time I was a sophomore, said to me, "You won't play at the next level because you're undersized." And I really committed myself to the weight room my sophomore summer. I was hitting puberty at the same time. I went from under 170 pounds to over 190. It was something that I totally committed to. By the time I was a junior in high school, I was 6'1", 195. So I felt